The human delegation had arrived on Kethros Prime 3 cycles ago, and Captain James Hartford still hadn't adjusted to the local customs. The Kethrosians were a proud warrior race who had recently joined the Galactic Council, and they insisted on assigning personal attendants to all diplomatic guests. James had tried to refuse politely, but refusing hospitality on Kethros was considered a grave insult. His 2 attendants were named Vorn and Keleth, both towering at nearly 8 feet tall, with deep purple skin and eyes that glowed faintly in darkness. They were efficient, professional, and absolutely determined to fulfill their duties to perfection. James appreciated their dedication, but their constant presence made him uncomfortable. He was used to privacy, something apparently rare in Kethrosian culture. The diplomatic mission was straightforward enough. Humanity needed Kethros to vote in favor of opening new trade routes through their sector. The Kethrosians wanted technology transfers and cultural exchanges. Everyone was being perfectly civil, but James couldn't shake the feeling that his hosts were constantly evaluating him, measuring humanity against some unknown standard. Tonight, James had finally managed to convince Vorn and Keleth that he needed time alone. He'd cited human meditation practices and the need for spiritual solitude. They had reluctantly agreed to wait outside his quarters until morning. The moment they left, James felt his shoulders relax for the first time in days. He had one secret he'd been desperately trying to keep from the Kethrosians. It was embarrassing, really, but it mattered. Every species in the Galactic Council seemed to possess some natural advantage. The Kethrosians had their strength and honor. The Quilvan had their telepathy. The Mordesh had their technological genius. Humans were considered the newcomers, the species that had nothing particularly special to offer. But James knew better. Humanity's gift wasn't obvious or flashy. It was resilience, adaptability, and something the other species rarely demonstrated: creativity under pressure. And tonight, James planned to prove it. He'd brought with him a small wooden flute, handcrafted by his grandmother. Music was his personal escape, his way of processing stress and finding clarity. He'd kept it hidden because Kethrosian culture viewed music as a sacred art, performed only by their highest priests during religious ceremonies. He didn't want to accidentally commit a cultural offense. James sat cross-legged on the sleeping platform and brought the flute to his lips. The first notes came softly, a melody from Earth that spoke of forests and rivers and home. He closed his eyes and let the music flow, each breath becoming a bridge between where he was and where he longed to be. He was so absorbed in playing that he didn't hear his door slide open. The music stopped abruptly as James's eyes snapped open. Vorn and Keleth stood in the doorway, their expressions unreadable. Behind them were 3 other Kethrosians he didn't recognize, all wearing the elaborate robes of the Council of Elders. "I can explain," James started, lowering the flute and feeling heat rise to his face. "I know music is sacred to your people, and I didn't mean any disrespect." Vorn raised one massive hand. "Captain Hartford, we detected unusual energy signatures from your quarters. We feared you might be in danger." "Energy signatures?" James looked down at his simple wooden flute. "From this?" One of the robed elders stepped forward. Her name was Thesa, and she was the senior member of the Kethrosian Council. "May I see your instrument?" James handed over the flute carefully. Thesa examined it with what seemed like reverence, running her fingers along the carved wood. "There is no technology in this, no power source. And yet we all heard the sound resonating through the walls of this structure. How is this possible?" "It's just breath and wood," James explained. "The sound comes from air vibrating inside the hollow chambers. It's one of the oldest instruments my species ever created." Keleth spoke up, his deep voice filled with wonder. "You create this beauty with only your breath? No neural interface? No harmonic amplifiers?" That's correct. The elders exchanged glances. Thesa handed the flute back to James. Captain Hartford, would you play for us again? Please? James hesitated, then nodded. He brought the flute back to his lips and began another melody, this one more complex. It was a piece about humanity's journey to the stars, composed by a musician who had died before ever leaving Earth. As James played, he poured into it everything he felt, the loneliness of deep space, the wonder of meeting alien civilizations, the hope that humanity could find its place among the stars. When the last note faded, silence filled the room. Then Thesa did something James had never seen a Cathrosian do. She knelt. Forgive us, Captain Hartford. We have been arrogant in our judgment of your species. James felt confusion wash over him. I don't understand. Thesa rose, her glowing eyes bright with emotion. For generations, we Cathrosians have believed that music could only be sacred if it required years of training, complex technology, and genetic modification to perfect. Our greatest musicians undergo surgical enhancements to their vocal structures and neural implants to access harmonic databases. We thought that was the only path to true artistry. She gestured to the flute. But you have shown us something we had forgotten. The beauty does not come from the complexity of the tool or the sophistication of the enhancement. It comes from here. She placed a hand over her chest. From the heart and mind of the one who creates it. Another elder spoke up. We have been evaluating humanity, wondering what your species could contribute to the Council. We see now that we were asking the wrong question. You do not need to possess the strongest bodies or the most advanced technology. Your strength lies in your ability to create meaning from simplicity, to find beauty in the fundamental. Vorn stepped forward, addressing his fellow Cathrosians. I have observed Captain Hartford for 3 cycles. He shows respect without subservience. He adapts to our customs while maintaining his own identity. He is humble about his abilities, yet confident in his purpose. These are the qualities we claim to value in our warrior code, yet we have shown him little of the honor he deserves. James felt overwhelmed by the sudden shift in the room. I was just playing music. I didn't mean to make any kind of statement. That is precisely why it matters, Thesa said. You are not performing for us or trying to impress us. You are being authentically yourself. And in doing so, you revealed a truth we needed to see. Kelleth approached James with something in his hands, a small crystalline device. Captain Hartford, the Council wishes to make an offer. We will support your trade route proposal, but we would also like to propose a cultural exchange. Would you be willing to teach our people about human music? Not as students learning from a master, but as fellow explorers discovering new paths together? James took the crystal, which displayed a formal contract in multiple languages. As he read through it, he realized this was more than he'd hoped to achieve. The trade routes would benefit both species economically, but the cultural exchange could build genuine understanding between their peoples. I would be honored, James said. But I should warn you, I'm not a professional musician. I'm just someone who loves music. Thesa smiled, an expression that transformed her warrior features into something gentle. Perhaps that is exactly what we need. Our professionals have forgotten how to play for the simple joy of it. You can remind us. The elders departed, leaving James alone with Vorn and Kelleth. His attendants looked different now, their earlier formality replaced with something warmer. We apologize for intruding on your privacy, Vorn said. But I confess I am glad we did. I have never heard anything quite like that music. James set down the flute and stretched. Would you like to learn? It takes practice, but anyone can do it with patience. Kelleth's eyes brightened. You would teach us? If you're interested. Music isn't meant to be hoarded or made sacred. It's meant to be shared. As his attendants settled down to receive their first informal music lesson, James reflected on the unexpected turn his mission had taken. He'd come to Kethros Prime, expecting tough negotiations and careful diplomacy. Instead, a simple wooden flute and a moment of vulnerability had opened doors he hadn't known existed. Humanity's place in the galaxy, he realized, wouldn't be determined by matching other species in their strengths. It would be forged by offering what only humans could bring: creativity born from limitation, beauty crafted from simplicity, and the willingness to share both freely. The night stretched on as three beings from different worlds created something new together. Not perfect music, but honest music filled with laughter and mistakes and the pure joy of discovery. And in that room, bridges were built not through treaties or trade agreements, but through the universal language of sound and breath and shared humanity. Tomorrow would bring formal negotiations and official ceremonies. But tonight, James Hartford had accomplished something far more important. He had reminded an ancient warrior culture that strength and honor could be found in the gentlest of places, and that sometimes the most powerful diplomatic tool was simply being human.